Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be honouring my friend Kayla by reading her favourite book series. I have never read the Raven Cycle series by Maggie I'm gonna have to look it up.
Hi, I'm Maggie Stiefvater and
Stiefvater. I have never read the Raven Cycle series by Maggie Stiefvater before, and I have been really interested in it because I've owned these books. Gosh, how long? Probably like 6 or 7 years. This is classic young adult fantasy at this point. This is up there with things like The Hunger Games, Divergent, Throne of Glass, you know, the quintessential young adult literature of the 2010s. And considering I'm still only 18, I do think I'm still within my rights to read this and love it. And now is the perfect time to read it as well because Kayla from Booksnink is doing a Raven Cycle read-along for her members. So I will link Kayla down below. I would definitely check out her membership. But yeah, I was like, this is the perfect time to do it. And I actually want to do a reading vlog for it, reading this series for the first time and vlogging the times when we are reading them. So we are reading the first book, The Raven Boys, between August 17th and August 31st. I'm already a third of the way through. And it's August 28th today, so I'm making good progress. And then we're doing The Dream Thieves between August 31st and September 14th. And then we're doing Blue Lily Blue between September 14th and September 28th, before finishing off the read-along with The Raven King, which we are reading between September 28th and October 12th. So I do love the idea of reading these books every 2 weeks. It gives me the opportunity to read this series for the first time and not leave it too long that I end up forgetting what happened in like the first book, the second book, because I'm terrible at doing that. So I thought I would make this a complete series reading vlog, so every single book review in this video will be filled with spoilers. So here is your spoiler warning right now. I would definitely recommend reading these books for yourself first and then coming back to this video and watch the sections for each book if you want to treat it a little bit like a book club. You know, like you and I were reading this together, because I don't want to spoil your experience reading it for the first time. But if you don't care, if you never want to read the Raven Cycle series and you're not really that bothered about spoilers, then do proceed. And be sure to like this video if you enjoy and subscribe if you haven't already. The absolute best way of doing this vlog, I think, is if I keep giving you like mid-book check-ins. So every book I will let you know what I'm thinking halfway through. So I'm on page 203 of The Raven Boys. Really enjoying it so far. I did not want to stop reading last night. It got pretty late and I had just finished a live show and I went straight to reading. Usually after live shows, I'm pooped and I just want to, I don't know, just watch YouTube or play a game or something. But no, I actually picked up a book after a live show. That's kind of impressive, if you ask me. I love the fact that we have this story that pretty much starts straight away. It's a little bit unorthodox, the way that we kind of introduce Blue as somebody who's going to kill her true love. And she's gonna fall in love this year, apparently according to one of her family members who is psychic. Like, that is kind of a brilliant start in my opinion. Like, it was very interesting. I was like, what do you mean she's gonna kill her true love? Can you explain? Can you elaborate? There's so many things that aren't explained just yet, which is great because my intrigue is like sky high. Like ley lines. What the hell is a ley line? I mean, I know they're invisible energy lines that kind of connect spiritual places and stuff, and there are people looking for these ley lines. It's like very important, but I'm like, what do you mean ley lines? Can you spell it out for me? And this is the kind of world where you're like thrust into the plot, but you're not thrust into the world, if that makes sense. Maggie isn't just dropping all of this information on you. It's like not info dumpy whatsoever. It is very nicely sprinkled through, and usually you are finding things out through really interesting characters, and it feels very natural. So while we are being thrust into the plot, the world is like slowly opening up to me and I'm starting to know more about character motivations, what is a character's drive and what is it they're striving for, and it seems like almost every single character in this book so far has a point, and that is something I love in books. I love it when a book, and a book series in particular, can introduce characters where they feel like they belong. Like they're not just there to serve the main character, they're not just there to service them and their progression, so then they don't have like their own kind of personality or the backstories and stuff, but no, like it seems like every single person so far has a backstory, and I need to find out what the fuck's going on. But yeah, Blue, I loved the kind of mystical and creepy start of this when, you know, it's St. Mark's Day, she goes with her mum every year to see the spirits of the dead, or at least the people who are fated to die in the next year. And Blue isn't psychic, she can enhance other people's abilities, she's like an amplifier, and she never gets to see what goes on. However, this year is different. She sees a boy called Gonzi. I'm not listening to the audiobook. I did try, and I got like 7 chapters in, and I just started from the beginning again because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm just reading this physically, so if my pronunciations are terrible, I do apologize. But I think it's Ganzi. I'm just gonna say, no, I want to say Gonzi, because that makes me sound more posh. So Gonzi, he appears to Blue, and then they're like, oh, either you kill him, or he's your true love. And I'm like, or both, you know what I mean? It's like, that is how you're going to set us up? Like, this is one chapter in, mind. One chapter in. And that is how you set me up? Damn, like, it's such an interesting start. Like, it's a good way of introducing some characters while also showing the mystique of the world. It's great. It was such a great start. Blue, I'm really enjoying as a character too. I feel like she is somebody... Well, there was one thing she said that I was like, oh, here we go. But Blue feels like a very realised person. She works at a restaurant place. I think it's called like Nino's or something. She's very practical. She's quite quick-witted so far in this. You know, like she has her own identity, her own personality. She's like actually going ahead and doing stuff that, you know, her mum might say, don't do that, please don't do that. She's like, well, actually, these are the things that I kind of enjoy in a main character. There was one thing she said where she was like, I'm not pretty. I'm just like, that is like such a stereotypical young adult main character. They're always like, oh, I'm just like so plain, I'm not pretty, and yet she's got like all the boys phoning after her, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the only like nitpicky thing I have for Blue so far. Love the name. Like, Blue is such a unique name, and blue is my favorite color. So I also love like Blue's family and that whole side of it too. Like Neve, Mora, in Kala, I think. I really like them. The things that they come out with, I'm getting reminded a little bit of like, you know, the practical magic ants. A little bit like the way that they have banter with one another, but also with Blue, it almost feels like it isn't the most, you know, stereotypical kind of family, but it's like a little different in a way. But I was getting like practical magic ants in my head as I was reading this, and the way that they go on, especially with their like psychic business, and they are offering like readings and stuff. I don't know why, but I pictured those. And I thought I would be bored with like psychic readings and stuff, because sometimes I'm like, a lot of books don't really do it in an interesting way, because all it is really is just like reading from a card and you kind of get a sense of the direction it's going in. But there were a couple of reading scenes so far in the first 200 pages that genuinely captured my interest, and especially the second one with the actual Raven Boys and them doing the reading for Ronan and Gonzi and Adam. Like, that was incredibly intriguing. I thought I would be bored, but I wasn't. But yeah, going back to characters, I like Adam. I think he's very nice, and I love the fact that he isn't like the Raven Boys. So the Raven Boys are these like pretty rich boarding school boys, essentially. Like, they go to a particular academy, begins with an A. I don't know all of the terminology just yet. I'm always terrible at learning that stuff from the off. But yeah, they all go to the same academy, and most of them are rich. And that is the kind of prejudgment that Blue has on these boys. So when they come to her restaurant, and Gonzi, who she doesn't know is Gonzi at the time, the person who she saw in the dead world, she finds him very snobbish. And even Gonzi, he is like, oh, would you go out with Adam, kind of thing, like, would you talk to him? But he like does it in a way that's a little bit condescending. He offers to pay her and stuff like that. Like, it's very funny in the way that these like two worlds kind of collide, and the fact that she doesn't even know that that's him, the one who, you know, is gonna die, and maybe she's the one who kills him. I find that incredibly funny, especially since there was a moment when she realizes and she sees him when he first comes to the house, and she's like, oh no, not him. All this time she'd be wondering how Gonzi might die, and it turned out she was going to strangle him. Like, that's so funny. But these preconceived judgments on the Raven Boys do not apply to Adam, really. He isn't wealthy, and he has a bit more of a complex history with wealth. In fact, he just doesn't really have it. My heart kind of broke for him during the flashback of him needing to pay for some food, and he gets his mum's credit card or something like that, and he goes to the shop to buy something, and he couldn't even afford like the little bit of food that he put on the conveyor belt. And then a Raven Boy had come past and paid for his things willy-nilly and just went. My heart broke for him. If anything, I feel so much sympathy for Adam. I'm not really 100% sure if I really ship Adam and Blue though, because they are quite sweet. Like, he isn't like the other Raven Boys, and she likes that about him. And I love the fact that when they're on the helicopter at the end of this section, and she's like, what do we call this? And he's like, not sure. You know what I mean? It's like kind of toying the line with calling it a date. Like, that's so cute. That's so sweet. But I'm not really all about the sweet couples unless it's Nick and Charlie from Heartstopper. You know what I mean? Like, it's very nice. It's nice. And I like nice. But not when there's like someone like Ronan around who, you know, I kind of like Ronan. He's very arsey, you know what he is? He's like a little bit of a dick, and like the way he's just like so honest about it as well. So during the seance scene, in Gonzi and Adam are like getting their fortunes read and stuff, and then Ronan is like, don't just throw some cards at me and tell me something generic, give me something specific. You know, like, it's so direct, and it's so unashamedly so. And I kind of love that. But also the fact that he has potentially a sweet side. He finds that Raven, and who he calls Chainsaw. That's so sweet. Like, he's feeding it like, what, every 2 hours or something? Like, that's so sweet. That's so, you wouldn't expect it from a guy who comes across as a bit of a dick. But I'm so intrigued about his father. Like, what happened with his father? The thing that, oh, who was it who told him? Was it Kala, Neve, Persephone? Someone told Ronan, when he asks for something specific, that he knows a secret about his father's death that nobody else knows. A secret killed your father and you know what it is. Like, what? And he leaves? Calla said that. Love Calla as well. Like, Calla gives as good as she gets from Ronan. When Gaunty says, that's a pretty lousy thing to throw at a kid. At a snake, you mean? Said Calla. He asked for a specific, I gave him a specific. I'm sorry it wasn't puppies. But yeah, I literally wrote on this page, like, I can't look away. I cannot look away. The entire scene was tense for, like, the reading. Because they all know that in a year, Gaunty is gonna die. And Gaunty doesn't know that. So it's like they have a secret over them. And, like, there's so much at stake here. And especially since Gaunty wants to know more about the ley lines, and they won't tell him. And they can sense something, like, really, really dangerous. Although, I think maybe it has to do with the Raven King. They are trying to find a sleeping king. And I believe, like, the ley lines are going to show them the way. And there's another character called Welk, who is also searching for it. And I think, is Welk the I'm asking this rhetorically. Is Welk the person who saw Blue's family? Like, that mysterious man who came for a reading beforehand? And he was asking, like, how much longer until I find it? And then they kick him out? Is that the same person? Is that Welk? Especially since if Welk found Glendower, he'd ask for what he'd wanted all along, to control the ley line. Like, that sounds like some villain bullshit to me. So is there a sort of race against time now between the Raven Boys and Blue and Welk now to find the Sleeping King? And they do say the Sleeping King can grant you wishes or like something like that when you find them, and that's, I think, kind of why Gaunty is so intense on finding him. So I'm like, what is Welk gonna do? If he wants to control the ley lines, that must mean something bad, right? And I do like Gaunty as well. So I like pretty much all the characters so far. Like, they are so interesting. Even the characters who I think are a little bit dickish, I like, because they're supposed to be dickish. Is Gaunty even gonna die? First of all, the corpse road is a promise, not a guarantee. That's what Maura says. So there is a chance that Gaunty isn't gonna die. It's just like, a promise can be broken, right? A promise can be broken. He could be saved. He could be saved. Maybe he turns out to not be Blue's true love. Maybe she just kills him. She does say she'll never fall in love with one of them. But that's kind of what I like about Adam and Blue. I feel like Adam is like chipping away at her preconceived notions on what a Raven Boy is. So that's one of the reasons why I like them together, but like not exactly romantically that much. At least that's not what I'm saying so far. It is very early days. So who knows? Maybe I might change my mind. But yeah, it's very nice. Their relationship is very nice. Oh, and we just met Helen as well. I mean, just very briefly, she's the pilot of the helicopter. So I can't wait to see more of her. Aren't you going to introduce us, Dick? Gaunty made a face. Blue, I'd like you to meet my sister Helen. Like, that is such a great way of introducing a character as well. Like, she wasn't just thrown in. They are going on an adventure to the mountains. The pilot happens to be a girl, which surprises Blue, and turns out to be Gaunty's sister. I can't wait to see more of Helen. Before I wrap up this session, I feel like you could talk about the relationship between the boys like so in-depthly and like so much as well. They just each seem to have their own thing going on with each other. Gaunty says all that grounded him was the knowledge that his and Adam's friendship exists in a place that money couldn't influence. So there's a little bit of a tricky thing there as well, especially since he gets invited to live with them, but Adam is like, no, I want to still live where I live. I think it's a trailer park. Like, I don't think Adam wants his identity to be jeopardized by his relationship with the boys. But the boys seem to, like, really care about one another. And that is just, like, so interesting because I don't think I've read a book in such a long time where there is, like, a male friendship that is genuinely so captivating. It feels like they would die for one another. That's, like, how intense the relationship feels between these boys. Also, what's this stuff with Noah? Noah says, I've been dead for 7 years. That's as warm as they get. Like, is Noah dead? Like, is he actually, like, a ghost or something? The relationship between Declan and Ronan, who are actually brothers, I believe. Something has to do with Declan. Something has to do with the father. Niall is Ronan and Declan's dad, and he was beaten to death with a tire iron. And then Ronan found his body the next day. And Declan and Ronan have had, like, a really strange relationship ever since. So that's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on at the minute, because I think the death of Ronan's dad is the most interesting thing for me right now. Just because it's a little bit understated compared to the stuff about the ley lines and the Raven King. But there's part of me that's like, we are skirting attention away from that with other things. There must be something like dramatically important about Ronan's dad and the secret that he knows. And you can tell me, I'm good with secrets. But I love it so far. Well, I have just finished this and I really enjoyed it. It was very, very good. I'm going to give it a 4-star. I might end up bumping it up to a 4.5 star at the end of this video, just to see what the rest of the books come out as, because who knows, maybe this might be my favourite one in the series. I don't know. And I kind of just want to put everything into perspective before I like give solid ratings. So it's going to be a 4-star for now, because I thought this was great. I mean, some of it I think I might have predicted, and something I thought maybe was a little bit predictable. Let's talk about Noah first, though, because he did actually turn out to be dead. I mean, for a second, you know what he said early in the book when he was like, "Oh, I've been dead for 7 years," and I was a little bit like taken aback. I was like, are you serious? I didn't know if maybe he was talking about, oh, I've been dead inside for 7 years. Like, that's where I kind of thought that's what he meant. And I was like, girl, same. Noah and I were like cervix sisters. But no, he was actually dead. I was like, oh. But as soon as we found his body, I kind of thought, oh, okay, so Well killed him. And yeah, it did turn out that Well had killed him. So like things around that were a little bit predictable. But the one thing that's great about the way that Maggie writes this book is that despite some of it being that way, it's the reaction of the characters, it's the way that the character developments happen, it's the way that the plot lines end up ending in this book that really gets you. So even if, yeah, like Noah being dead was kind of a given, what was so great was like the response from the other characters. So say for instance his funeral, and he goes up to Blue and he says to Blue, like, can you tell my mum I'm so sorry for drinking her schnapps, like her birthday schnapps or something like that. And I was like, and then Blue actually ends up doing it, and that's when Noah's mother cries. Oh my god, like that got me. I was like, okay, it doesn't matter if like that part of the story didn't really surprise me. The fact that I'm actually feeling something right now is kind of proof that I kind of love these characters. Adam, I think, is so interesting. I don't quite love him all that much. I do like him, but I don't like love him. It's a complex relationship with Adam right now because I totally understand his dilemma. He doesn't want to feel like someone owns him, especially, oh my god, especially after those heart-wrenching scenes with his father. And like this is where like Ronan comes into it and just like absolutely steals the entire series for me. Like, he's definitely my favourite after this. But the fact that he went after Adam's dad and was beating Adam's dad up, I was like, I need a friend like that. I don't want anyone to beat up my dad. My dad's fine. But in the metaphorical sense, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody was, like, leaning to me, no matter who it was, I want someone like Ronan to just come a-swinging. Again, like, I have so much sympathy for Adam. There's so much pity, I guess. I feel a lot of pity for Adam. He is definitely the most emotionally charged character so far, and you know that kind of lends into the way that his character journey goes in this book. But yeah, I don't know if I like Adam because of Adam as a character or because I feel sorry for him. And one thing that I wasn't the biggest fan of, and like again, like this is, I guess, clashing personalities, and one of the reasons why I think these characters are so well written, but when Gansey, and I did listen to the audiobook for a little bit just to get Gansey's name right, because I do think people will come for me in the comments if I pronounce his name Gansey, because I feel like you're all going to be like, oh my god, you pretentious whore. And I'd be like, yes, I am, what of it? But no, it's Gansey. If the audiobook narrator is anything to go by, it's Gansey. So it's when Gansey picks Adam up and takes him so that he can get his things from the trailer park and then go live with Gansey at the... It begins with an M. That place where they live. That was when I was kind of like, this is hard, like this is tricky, because Adam doesn't want to feel like he has lost control. He doesn't want to feel like anyone owns him. And he was saying to Gansey, oh, just say it, just say I told you so. Like, you wanted this to happen, you wanted me to come live with you and stuff like that. And like Gansey's like, no, like I didn't want it to happen this way. Like, I'm glad you're coming with me and I'm glad you're getting removed from that situation with your father. But like, this isn't like making me happy or anything. But he is happy that Adam is getting taken away from that. And Adam is just like so... like, I don't know, like, rude, but then again, so is Gansey, because Gansey kind of victim blames him a little bit as well. Like, again, like, I feel like this is what makes them work so brilliantly, is because they're such clashing personalities within all of the Rainbows, within all the characters. Like, there are just so many different clashing personalities. But the way that Adam was, like, kind of fighting back with Gansey, like, if I had a friend like Gansey, like, a lot of these characters, I'm like, oh, if I had a friend like that. But if Gansey was a friend of mine, and he wanted to help remove me from a abusive household, why would I hold that against him? Like, why would I push back at that? Obviously, there's a lot of, you know, Adam being like, oh, I don't want, you know, money to come between us, or I don't want you to own me or, like, take away my freedom and stuff like that. But, like, again, like, what is Gansey supposed to do? Like, it was a very tricky situation, and I think there were both sides to it. But in that moment, Adam was coming across as, I don't know, like, I don't want to say his ego or his pride was being wounded too much. But at the same time, I'm like, let's just put pride just away, just for a second. Look at Gansey as somebody who is a genuine friend wanting to genuinely help you. And there was just so much pushback that I felt a little bit unnecessary from Adam's part. But again, I do understand where Adam is coming from. I just personally didn't love that interaction. And then by the end of it, when Adam is the one making the sacrifice at the ley line thing and the whole ritual in the woods, and Neve is there and Blue is there and everyone's there. That was very exciting. That was great kind of climax for this book. Adam's sacrifice, yeah, it was great. Like it was a great sacrifice. The fact that he is like giving up what means the most to him, and that is his freedom. He literally sacrifices himself, like what makes him him. But I don't really know the repercussions of that. I don't know if that's going to be explored more in the future. There is a kind of questioning of his morals a little bit, because he is so okay with Welk facing the consequences of his actions for killing Noah, and like I think Gansey is like, that isn't justice if you kill him kind of thing, but Adam's like, but he deserves it, you know, like there's this kind of whole judge, jury, executioner kind of theme going on here too, and Adam says it's what he deserves, and then Gansey's like, they didn't even have the authority to choose an alcoholic beverage, they couldn't be deciding who deserved to live or die. So what are the repercussions of this, huh? Hey Tobu, do you understand what the repercussions of this is? What is the repercussions of Adam making this choice? I know. Silence. That's all Tobu's got. Silence. I don't know either. We'll find out in the next book, I'm sure. Blue kind of took a little bit of a step back with a lot of the action stuff by the end of it. This kind of felt more, which I guess makes sense because it is called the Raven Boys, but like she didn't have as much of an active role by the end of it. It was predominantly more like Adam and Gansey and even Ronan. Like they kind of took the spotlight a little bit from Blue by the end. That is fine. I kind of love the whole ensemble cast, as we shall say. It's feeling very alive with the cast at the minute, so yeah, like I'm invested. I'm totally invested in their story. Neve was very interesting too, because she was the one who kind of got Welk, and she was going to like sacrifice him until the tables get turned, which again was very, very exciting. But like, where is Neve now? So like Kala and Mora and Persephone, I'm going to get there with their names eventually. They had cast some kind of spell. They had done something with like mirrors and stuff, and now Neve has just like disappeared. Like they don't even know what happened. So like what, like that is so cool too. Like I'm loving the different storylines that are gonna potentially be explored more in the sequels. Other than I did love the moment when they found Noah's body. That was very atmospheric. And also seeing how much more that Gansey is trusting Blue and vice versa as well. Like their relationship is definitely developing a lot more. I still don't know who I like ship. Like I don't know if I have ships right now. I do think that Blue and Adam would be a boring couple. Just because Adam is, well then again, Adam could be changing. This could be a sign of Adam having a change. So maybe I do ship her with Gansey then, because Ronan, he's doing his own thing. Ronan's my favourite character. I don't want him to be ruined by a romance. I'm on a roller coaster right now, and I kind of don't want to get off. Fortunately, today is August 30th, which means tomorrow, August 31st, is the end of this book read-along and the start of the second book. So who knows, I might start the second book tomorrow. Like, do I even want to wait? Probably not. I do have another book to read tomorrow, is the only thing. But it is a good sign that I kind of just want to jump straight into the sequel, which you will be able to do with this video. So I was going to update you every time I hit the halfway point in each of these books. However, I did pretty much all day reading sprints yesterday, where the reading sprints weren't allowed to end until I finished my book. And so I have finished the Dream Thieves. I read all of it yesterday. I mean, pretty much in one sitting. I did get up to, like, you know, do the usual. These books are very bingeable. I find. These books are very, very bingeable. Before I talk about this book though, there was someone in the reading sprints yesterday called She Dreams in Words, and she asked, will you tier rank all the characters or at least the main crew in your vlog? I'd like to see Adam's rise in the ranks. Lol. Lol indeed. So actually that's a great idea. So let's do the Raven Boys, and I am just going to stick to the main crew. So we have, what is it, Blue, Gansey, Ronan, Adam and Noah. I would consider them like the main crew unless I'm like totally wrong. But I just want to rank those 5 characters first and foremost. So from just the Raven Boys, like from the very first book, the ranking would go Ronan, Blue, Gansey, Noah and Adam. And yeah, now every time I finish a book, I will update the rankings of the main characters, and we're going to see if these character positions change. And yeah, as you can see from the very first book, Ronan was my favourite character, and this book is pretty much all about Ronan. I mean, not all about Ronan, but majority of it is about Ronan. And the entire book, the entire premise is the Dream Thieves. So in this one, Ronan is able, or at least we find out about Ronan, he is able to pull objects out of dreams. He is what is considered a Grey Warren, and the Grey Man is currently after the Grey Warren. Did I like this book as much as the first book? I don't know. I think they're pretty much on par. I I might prefer the first book just a little bit over this one, so I think I would give this one 4 stars too. So I have so much to say about Ronan. I might leave Ronan for the end though, because there's just like so much to talk about there. So let's start off with Blue actually. Let's start off with Blue, who I would consider still like the main character, even though she wasn't in as much of this one as I assumed she would be. I'm still so invested in the fact that Blue is still trying to get Gansey, I keep wanting to say Gonzi, the miracle cure or like whatever from the Raven King. She still wants to save Gansey from the fate of him having to die within the next year, in the fact that she wants to get to the Raven King so that she can ask for that as like her wish. I am honestly a little bit worried about that. I don't know if the Raven King will actually do that. There might be like the opposite effect. For some reason I'm now starting to think that maybe the reason that Gansey dies in the first place is because of the Raven King. Like, what if Blue kisses him and he doesn't die? Like, she isn't the reason he dies. Like, he isn't her true love. Or maybe he is her true love, and the whole you're gonna kiss your true love and they're gonna die kind of thing is kind of in question, because it was kind of questioned in this a few times, especially by Noah, I think it was, and say, okay, is it if or when? And I believe it was if. Like, if Blue kisses her true love, they will die. And so I have many questions and many theories about what in the world is going to happen there. I also love when it said Blue was a little in love with all of them, indicating like all of like the Raven boys. And honestly, like, I love the fact that, because like, not all of it is romantic love, a lot of it is platonic love, and I do love the fact that now, especially since I'm so invested in the characters, it's one of the reasons why I'm loving this series so much, is because of how tight these characters are and how real they feel and how much they feel for each other. There's a whole lot of emotion going around, and they each like feel so much care and love and adoration for them. This is brought up a little bit later on with Gansey as well, when, I mean, it's a little bit cringy like, but when Gansey's like, oh, we're wealthy in love, like, oh my god, I wanted to be sick. I was like, this is disgusting. But it was really sweet as well about the fact that they are wealthy in love and they matter. Like, it really does matter like how much they each care for one another. It's like they've lifted each other up, they've saved one another as well with how much they care for one another. And so being wealthy in love is like a big theme of this book, as well as like Blue's feelings, especially for Gansey, and like the stuff with Adam as well. Oh my god, Blue left me wigless a couple of times when it came to Adam, I'm not gonna lie. So one of the first instances of her realizing that she like really likes Gansey, in this book anyway, is when she says, Richard C. Gansey III has a nice mouth, now I know he has nice eyes when he laughs too, this still isn't love. She also thought, Adam, remember Adam. It's like, if you have to remember someone else as you're admiring someone else's smile and mouth, it's like, wake up and smell the Raven boys, you know what I mean? I love the part of the lake when Blue is like diving into the water and then she like comes back up and she's found this thing. I love that scene, but I also love it when she is talking about Ola, because Ola is in an orange bikini and she says to Gansey, seen enough? And Gansey's like, of Ola? Yeah. What cares it of yours? He asked what I think of Ola. Blue held his gaze unflinching, crisp. She replied, none at all. And it was a lie. Yeah, it was a lie. Don't try and put one over on us, Blue. We know you care. We know you care about the fact that he's seeing someone else in an orange bikini. And I think the final nail in the coffin there is when she's like, I have a crush on Richard Gansey. I don't have a crush on Adam Parrish. Poor Adam. You know what I mean? Like, poor Adam. My feelings on Adam aside, you're probably wondering, like, Gavin, why are you feeling like certain kind of way towards Adam? I don't hate the guy. I don't. I just don't really feel a whole lot for him, except pity. And one of the things that honestly got me wigless is the scene between Adam and Blue. And Adam's like, don't feel pity for me, or something like that. And Blue is like, well, don't be pitiful. And I was like, she's saying everything that I'm thinking, honestly. Like, again, I do feel so bad for Adam. Like, he's been through so much. And actually, there were so many deep quotes with Adam. I will read some out to you. Like, when he says, what do you want, Adam? To feel awake when my eyes are open. Pfft, damn, like, that is deep. He hissed through his voice, I don't want your pity. Blue said that, don't be pitiful. I just freaking love that. Because, like, literally, yes, stop being pitiful then if you don't want people's pity. You know, have you ever seen Scary Movie 2? When that guy doesn't want anyone's help, anyone offers him help, like, say, like, a blowjob, in the guy in Scary Movie's like, I can do it myself. Like, Adam gives those vibes. Somebody could offer him, like, blood transfusion to save his life, and Adam would be like, no, keep it, I can do it myself. I totally get the fact that he wants to be independent, he wants to be able to, you know, save himself and stuff like that, but I'm like, there comes a moment when it goes from being admirable to just plain rude. And the amount of times, like, even like his very first meeting with Andie is like so filled with judgment, because obviously Andie has had like everything handed to him, like he's wealthy and stuff, and Adam hasn't. But it feels like the only person who was judging anyone is Adam to the other people. Well, especially Andie. It doesn't feel like Andie is ever judging Adam. It always feels the other way around. And I'm like, these boys, these characters are like so, like, they're like brothers, you know what I mean? Like, they feel so connected, and I love their connection so much, and they care for one another. But again, like, the only person I'm feeling judgment from is Adam, and he's the one who is supposed to be like the most relatable one. He's the poor one. He is the one who's working 3 part-time jobs to make a living, or like to at least afford the roof over his head and stuff like that. It's like, I should be feeling sorry for Adam, and I do feel sorry for Adam, but he is the one who's constantly judging the others. So yeah, when they first meet, Adam Parrish, right? Yeah, Richard Andie, just Andie. Already Adam had spotted what had stopped the Camaro in its tracks. With daring, he'd asked, do you want me to fix it? I know a little about cars. I do love this moment, by the way. I know I'm being very judgy with Adam right now, but I love this moment. No, Andie had replied curtly. Adam remembered how his ears had burned, how he'd wished he'd never stopped, how he hated Agli. He was nothing, he knew. And of course, Andie, of all of them, could see it on him. The worthlessness of him. His second-hand uniform, his shitty bike, his stupid accent. Then Andie, his eyes full of the real Andie, had said, I'd like you to show me how to fix it myself, if you could. Obviously, Adam has been through it. He is obviously like very defensive, and he has like a lot of self-hatred that I think he needs to work through. But again, like, there's so much projection from Adam onto the other characters. Obviously, like in the first book, there was like a lot of clashing of personalities between like Andie and Adam, and like accepting help, and like Andie coming on a little bit too strong, and like there were 2 sides to that story. I fully understand that. But again, like even with this book, I'm just seeing Adam as somebody who is just projecting so much on other people, and I can't wait to find his character arc and his character journey to get from the place where he is constantly like trying to be defensive and like is pushing the others kind of away from him. It feels like he's the one pushing. It's like they're not really judging him, he's judging himself. So I can't wait for us to get to that moment where Adam finally accepts himself, because it feels like he's the only one judging himself right now. This quote though, Adam was so used to the right way being painful that he doubted any path that didn't come with agony. Again, that is freaking beautiful, and it shows you so much of Adam's vulnerability. And again, like, I think it's fantastic. I love the fact that we have this flawed character in Adam, because he is definitely the one with the most complex feelings and the most complex, I guess, story. I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop with Adam, and I think when we get to that point, he will definitely rise the ranks. But at the minute, he's just like not there for me. Oh my god, the Blue and Adam breakup though. I was reading this on sprints, and I think my mouth just like dropped as I got to this moment. So obviously, like, Blue is pushing him away because she doesn't want to kiss him. This happened like much earlier on in the book, but now we have this moment 100 pages from the end. He wants the truth, and she tells him, if I kiss my true love, I'll kill him. There it is. Are you happy? I didn't tell you right away because I didn't want to say true love and scare you off. And Adam asks, and now, finally Blue's voice shook a little. I didn't tell you until just now because I realized it didn't matter, because it's not gonna be you. Oh. Again, like, I feel so bad for Adam, but like, I'm sick of feeling bad for Adam. So like, this moment just like further made me feel so awful for him. And like, that's not Blue's fault. Obviously, like, she's in such a bad position right now. Like, she thought she was falling for Adam. She's actually fallen for Andie instead. And Adam has fallen for Blue. And like, again, like, that's not really her fault. But we get to this moment where she has to come clean about it. And telling him, it's just not going to be you. Like, you're not going to be my true love. And then Adam is like, prove it. If it's not me, it's not going to do anything, is it? Either it's the truth or it's not. I'm like, god damn, like, don't tempt fate. Don't tempt fate, whatever you do. So that honestly was just, I love that scene. Like, it's so dramatic. And yet, like, both of the characters don't really come across as, like, villains. Like, it feels like it should, because it is, like, a breakup, and it feels awful for Adam to have to hear that. But obviously, Blue isn't being malicious in that moment. She just had to come clean and be honest about it. But yeah, great scene. Which kind of juxtaposes the scene with Noah, when Noah's like, oh, kiss me, because I'm already dead, so it won't matter if you kiss me. And Blue is like, you know what, actually, okay. I love that scene. I really did. But it also like broke my heart too when, you know, they're doing it and it's like so clumsy and so awkward. It's like hilarious, but also like so real and so relatable too, that it just came across as like the most real thing to happen in this book. One of the reasons why I do still think like Noah is edging Adam a little bit for me, because I have these scenes with Noah where I just absolutely like love the character and like, I just feel his personality. I know somebody you could kiss. Who? Oh wait, it's not like you're gonna kill me. I mean, if you were curious. Okay, she said what? I said okay. And he blushes. Like, that's so cute. Yeah, his mouth mashed to lips until it had teeth. The entire thing was at once slimy and ticklish and hilarious. Like, I love that. I love a good platonic kiss between friends. You know, them just like kind of trying to get a feel for it. Because then it is like heartbreaking again when Blue is like, oh, though Blue, so this is what I can't have. And even Noah is dead now. Like, he can't really do that too much himself. I'd ask you out if I was alive. Like, ugh. Like, we went from such a hilarious, like, heart-touching moment to bloody depression. Like, why did you have to say that? Why? Like, Noah's dead, so he can't ask anyone out for a date. Like, he can't, like, feel true love's kiss. He can't really get any of that. Neither can Blue. And she's alive. Awful dramatic irony there, isn't it? Kind of plays with the themes of, like, desire in what they can and can't have. I'll quickly talk about the Grey Man before I talk about Ronan and Kavinsky. The Grey Man, I wasn't really that taken with him in this book until I found out his name. So his name is Dean. And I was like, now I'm picturing Dean Winchester from Supernatural. And now, in my head, the Grey Man is being played by Jensen Ackles. And now I'm interested. So he's trying to find the Grey Warren, aka Ronan or Kavinsky, I guess, like, especially since, you know, he's after the people who can go into their dreams and like take things out of those dreams. I love the scene between Calla and the Grey Man. When Calla says, give me a stancer and I'll fetch you a drink, he gives her a stancer. Do it in the original Old English and I'll put alcohol in that drink. He did. It was so funny. I kind of do ship Mora and the Grey Man. I kind of like their banter in a way. Is that weird? Like, is that something that people also ship? I don't know. Especially since Mora later tells the Grey Man, I'm sorry no one saved you. And that again adds to those themes that I'm going to talk more about with Ronan and Kavinsky, about having someone there to save you, like someone to stop you from going over the edge, someone to pull you back when you're going too far, and to, like, I guess, save your soul. And that's kind of the thing that, you know, like what Gansey said before about being wealthy in love. No, loved wealthily. Wealthy in love. Yeah, wealthy in love. And that's so cringy, but it has a point. It does have a point. Like when Mora tells the Grey Man, you know, sorry no one saved you, did no one love the Grey Man enough to save him? Whereas, like, the other characters, like, say, Ronan, who could have ended up going down the path that Kavinsky goes down, Ronan had someone to save him. Ronan had his friends to save him. And the Grey Man didn't. Like, that's kind of depressing. Like, that's kind of tragic. How different could the Grey Man's life have been had he been saved beforehand? You know what I mean? Like, that just kind of rang so true in my heart. Like, can you imagine the different paths that we could have gone down had we not had the people to guide us on that journey? How different could I have been had the people in my life earlier not sort of steered me sort of in this direction and saved me from those moments that were a little bit too much? Can villains be saved? Can they save themselves? Is it too late? I don't know. So, like, now I am pretty interested in the Grey Man, but for the majority of this book, I was kind of like, I mean, I kind of like his scenes. Like, he's kind of charismatic. He can be quite funny. Like, the scene where he's talking with Mora about, like, him being a hitman. And she's like, oh, Calla's following us to the restaurant because she doesn't want you to bury me. And the Grey Man's like, I don't bury the people I kill. It's just kind of the funny, dark humour one-liners that he ends up coming out with. Really good. So yeah, he has his brother, who I think is the one who's asking him, trying to find the Grey Warrens. His brother comes by the end, and then the Grey Man shoots his brother twice. So there's also that kind of brotherly theme there as well. The Grey Man has his brother, and obviously there's like tension there, and it's not the brotherly love that you would want. Whereas with like Ronan and his family, who I would consider the Rainbow Boys his family, it's the total opposite of that. Finding out the Grey Man killed Niall, Ronan's dad, oh my god, like, that was dramatic as well. I wasn't really expecting that. Not too much to say about that, honestly, so let's talk about freaking Ronan, because I feel like this is going to take up the majority of what I want to talk about, okay? I love Ronan. I've loved him since the first book. Firstly, I don't really quite understand his family situation, because his dad said, when I was born, God broke the mold so hard the ground shook. Like, there was an actual earthquake when he was born. And he says, and you, Ronan, when you were born, the rivers dried up and the cattle in Rockingham County wept blood. I'm like, is he being metaphorical here? Or is he, like, actually being serious? Like, was there an actual earthquake when Niall was born? And did cows cry blood when Ronan was born? Like, what does that mean? And I kind of just knew from this, like, epilogue chapter that I would love this one. Especially since, with Ronan, he had the ignition key between his fingers, then he woke up. When he opened his hand, the keys lay in his palm. Dream to reality. This was his third secret. Him being able to bring things out of his dreams is so incredible. I can only imagine what would happen. Like, last night I was dreaming that I was married to a 6-foot hunk with lots of money, and I can just imagine, like, imagine if I brought him out and I woke up in that bed and there was that man right next. Oh my god. I don't fully understand the stuff with the orphan girl though. So like Ronan does have this recurring dream of like being in a forest, and there is an orphan girl there, and she tells him, bring me out. Like she wants him to bring her out. And I'm like, can he actually do that? Can he actually like bring her out and stuff? Like, that was very vague, and I kind of loved that. I might have missed something with that, so if anyone could explain that down below. I mean, I might find out more in Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is so hard to say. I might find out more in the next one, but in this book of lore, I don't think we really got too much about the orphan girl, unless I missed something, and about him being able to bring like people out of dreams. Because I also had this theory that did he bring Adam out of his dream? Because in the final like epilogue, he says like Adam perishes his second secret. And I was like, oh, did he bring Adam out of his dream? Like, did Adam like once die or something, and Ronan like brought him out? Like, this is just total cockadoodle bullshit theory in right now. It's probably not true, but it would kind of explain some of like Adam's weirdness for me, like why I'm not really feeling like he's altogether quite right for me. It would explain like if he was like maybe dead and he got brought out of a dream. It would explain why he says, oh, when I wake up, I wish I could feel alive or something like that. When I open my eyes, I wish I could feel awake. You know what I mean? I was kind of like, if Adam perishes his second secret, unless it means like Adam perishes his second secret as in like Ronan has a crush on Adam, maybe. Especially since one of the dreams that Ronan has too. Adam was the horror now. The teeth was something else. Adam was something else. He was a creature close enough to touch. Like he's having this dream about Adam turning into like this horror. I don't know, maybe something there. And Chainsaw was like still the cutest, like playing with a little plane thing, and then Ronan not want to take Chainsaw with him because he doesn't want Chainsaw to learn any bad language. That was the moment I kind of knew that Ronan would be like probably my favourite fictional character this year so far. Probably no one's gonna beat him now. I genuinely loved him in that moment. I genuinely freaking loved him. And I loved the storyline with Kavinsky. So Kavinsky is another boy at the school, but he's also a Grey Warren. Like he can also get things out of dreams, and he has all of these like cars that he gets out. And there are some like exciting car chase sequences with between them. But I definitely feel like Kavinsky seems to be like a sort of mirrored reflection of Ronan. If Ronan didn't have the love to take him off the edge and to save him, whereas Kavinsky didn't, you know what I mean? Kind of what I applied to the Grey Man conversation before. I don't know if like Kavinsky was like that kind of mirror to Ronan, had Ronan not had the love that saved him in the past. Also, Kavinsky's voice in the audiobook, so I read this physically, but I did do immersion reading. I did listen to the audiobook as I was reading physically, just so I could keep concentrating on track with my sprints yesterday. And like the voice for Kavinsky, like I laughed a lot because he was like funny in his delivery, but the accent he gives him, it felt like I was watching Grease. I thought like, is he one of the T-Birds? I mean, I'm Raven Boys, T-Birds. Maybe he was inspired by the T-Birds. Interesting. So yeah, it was just kind of a little bit odd. Like the way that he was talking and the accent that he gave him felt very 50s. And then sometimes as well, actually, the dialogue of any of the characters, sometimes like the dialogue would stop and it would be like, you know, the narrator, and then the dialogue would continue. Sometimes the audiobook narrator would just continue the dialogue, and you would think that the character was still speaking, even though it was the narrator. So that could be quite confusing. So I'm very, very glad that I was reading physically at the same time. Otherwise, some of that could have been confusing. But yeah, Kavinsky calls Ronan FAG, and I just thought he was being like, you know, mean. And you know what that is mean, like that is a terrible word to use. But then we get like the actual confirmation, and I was like, Ronan is gay?
You put spray cologne on your girl? I spray girls' cologne on my pillows to make me think they're there.
Don't say it, Dick Gansey, man. Do not say it. He is never going to be with you. And don't tell me you don't swing that way, man. I'm in your head. That's not what Gansey is to me, Ronan said. You didn't say you didn't swing that way. Ronan was silent. Thunder growled under his teeth. No, I didn't. Oh my god, I love that. Like, it wasn't even just like a, yes, I'm gay kind of thing. It's like, it was a lot more subtle than that, and like a little bit more beautiful, I'm not gonna lie. It's like, Ronan ain't gonna lie about who he is, but he ain't gonna outwardly say it to Kavinsky, who was literally like kidnapped his brother, and he's in one of those cars and he needs to save him. Like, he's not just gonna give Kavinsky what he wants. I freaking love that moment so bloody much. I loved it. I was just finding out Ronan is gay now. He is, isn't he? He's definitely gay. Like, this isn't just like a metaphor, right? So like, is there something with like Gansey as well? Like, does Ronan fancy Gansey? Ronan says, just in that moment, the thought of Gansey leaving for DC without him was unbearable. They had been a two-headed creature for so long, Ronan and Gansey. He couldn't say it though. There were 1,000 reasons why he couldn't say it. And I was like, is one of those reasons because he maybe feels some kind of feelings for him, maybe? But it probably isn't that. It's probably just that, you know, like, again, they feel like brothers to me. I don't think I really ship them together. I really don't know, because I think Blue and Gansey are, like, the couple for me. Like, I definitely want them two to be together. But, like, I feel like that group, other than, like, Blue and Gansey, like, they can get together. It feels a little incestuous if any of the Raven boys get together. Then again, I don't know, because maybe Ronan loves Adam. Because Adam perishes his second secret, apparently. So I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe I will end up loving that if they do. Because, like, poor Adam, he does need someone. And I think Ronan can give him that personality that I think he's been lacking. I'm just saying. And I felt bad for Kavinsky as well, actually. I'm just going to say, like, he was a good little villain for this book. I don't know if, like, each of the Raven cycle books have different villains for them, because there was a different villain in the first one, like, leading up to the Raven King in the final book. And I don't know if the Raven King is going to be a villain, but that's kind of what I'm getting. That's kind of the vibes I'm feeling right now, is that they're going to find him and realize, oh, actually, this is a bad thing, we shouldn't have done this. So Kavinsky was, like, very energetic. Like, I loved his page presence. I loved the way he bounced off of Ronan. I loved the fact that they had this fight with, like, a dragon in a horror that they had, like, kind of conjured up themselves, in the whole, like, dichotomy between, like, the dreams and, like, reality, and, like, bringing stuff out of dreams. And oh my god, it was just great. Like, I loved the Kavinsky Ronan dynamic so much. And even by the end as well, Ronan couldn't kill Kavinsky. Like, he still didn't even want to do it. And you would think, like, in the very first book, that Ronan, he was the one who was, like, the most of an asshole, I guess. Like, he had more of an asshole persona. But he's actually got, like, so much heart that's come out so beautifully in the first two books that I'm like, God, he can't even kill Kavinsky. And yet Kavinsky was almost about to kill Ronan's brother. It's like, Ronan, you continue to surprise me, you do. I might end up giving this a 4.5. I feel like I want to bump the first book up to a 4.5. I think I gave the first book a 4, right? I've already forgotten. And I'm 4 days behind as well, by the way. I was supposed to finish this by September 14th. I ended up finishing it on September 18th. I was 4 days late. So my character rankings are still the same from the Raven Boys. It's still Ronan, then Blue, then Gansey, then Noah, then Adam. Again, I am still putting, like, Noah above Adam right now, because I just, like, loved Noah's personality, and I loved the scenes with Noah as well. Like, the kissing scene was, like, one of my favorites of this book, and it goes above, like, any of the scenes with Adam. At the bottom, I'm sorry, I know I'm getting so much hate right now. I know you're just all clamoring to dislike this video, like, hit that dislike button, I don't care. But I do want you to know, I don't hate any of these characters. I find all of them so fascinating and brilliant in their own ways. So I'm just loving the ride, honestly. And the plot itself, oh my god, yeah, before I actually go on to the third book, the plot too, like, so we have Blue's mother. She has left a note saying that she's gone underground because that's where Glendower is. And they've also come across some caves at the end of this book too. So that really intrigues me. A cave? How deep does it go? I haven't gone in. I don't think it's safe. What's the next step then? Make it safer. And yeah, Calla leads Blue up to Mora's bedroom, pushes open the door. Candle and Mel on the carpet. Beside it, in a square of strong daylight, a scrying bowl was knocked askew. Who did this? Where is Mom? Blue demanded. Calla wordlessly handed her a note. They all read it over Blue's shoulder. In a hasty water-stained scroll, it said, Glendower is underground. So am I. It's like, oh my god. We're getting so close now to the moment when they find Glendower. Oh, I'm very invested in that plot. I really, really am. Like, I'm so excited to see what this cave situation is about, where Glendower is. I have a prediction that maybe book 3 will end with them finding Glendower. I don't know, but I'm just really enjoying the series, okay? I'm enjoying it. And there is obviously, like, so much more I want to, like, say and stuff, but, like, we don't have the time. We don't have the time. Like, there's so much to say about all of these books. We could be here for a million years. So there might be something that I didn't mention too much of, like the stuff with the will, like Ronan's will and stuff, and, like, more of the orphan girl, stuff with Blue's family, all of that jazz. There's way more to discuss, but do continue to let me know in the comments if there was anything I didn't talk about that you'd like to talk about, because I could still talk about it if I remember by the time I, you know, upload this video. Look at me being a vision in blue for Blue Lily, Lily Blue. Got the blue hat, the blue top. I'm looking lovely, if I do say so myself. But anyway, I did manage to read all of Blue Lily, Lily Blue. Blue Lily, Lily Blue. And I read this while I was on Patreon reading sprints with Lela-Marie and Sarah Without an H. And I just blasted through it all, essentially. Well, I started before the sprints, finished it during the sprints. Didn't really have time to give you, like, my mid check-in thoughts or anything, so I'm just going to do the entire book now, and I feel like that's probably what I'm going to do for the final book as well. I just want to blast through it. I don't want to stop reading as I'm reading. It's the kind of book where I would start asking questions and then realise that the question would be answered in the next chapter kind of thing. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. It's not my favourite one so far. I still think maybe the first book is my favourite so far, and it's like kind of gotten down a little bit as each book has gone on. Still very invested, especially with the characters. And maybe there was a little change in my character ranking. Just giving you a little teaser there. But yeah, the main thing that I really wanted to find out in this one was if we would find Mora, because she did go missing at the end of the previous book. She had gone underground. And I was like, okay, great. Like, we're going to have some new, amazing, exciting set pieces. And we do. I absolutely love the scenes that were set in the caves. I got this feeling of claustrophobia, but also this sense of beauty too when you hear the caves being described. Blue and the others had to shuffle through pools and streams. The narrow uneven path had been carved by water, and the water was still doing that work. She felt buried alive. Like, it got me feeling like, you know, I hate this, but like, you know, the Nutty Putty cave? Oh my god, I get such feelings of claustrophobia and these awful feelings that get triggered in me when I think about like caves and getting yourself in caves and the tightness of it and how dark it is. And yet Maggie Stiefvater is able to make this really like beautiful visual of like the water and the lakes and stuff, and juxtaposes that with the darkness and the terror of the caves. Also, I love the fact that my highlights and stuff are in blue as well. Look, there's just so much blue today. I think this is probably like the most serious and probably scariest book so far. There were a couple of moments that actually gave me like some goosebumps. Not just the caves, but like when they find Glendower's daughter later on too, and she's like face down in the coffin thing, and they're like slowly like trying to figure out like what's happening, like, oh my god, he's facing down, like he's lying down, do we need to like turn him over and stuff? And then they realize, oh, it's a woman, and then they realize it's Glendower's daughter. So like that was so interesting. I really enjoyed that. The Valley of Skeletons later as well, like again we get so much like, I guess more like death imagery, because when you think of like caves and like the absence of light, you think of maybe death, you think of like entrapment, which is, you know, perfect for the themes of this book and trying to find and wake up the Raven King, as well as like preventing Gandhi's death and like Noah's dead, and there's just so many things with death in this one. Bloody Persephone dies. I was so sad about that actually. I don't even really fully understand like how that happened and stuff. Like she was like found between like Neve's mirrors, and that was just like such a, again, like a very scary thought, like, oh, we are getting like more people closer to us who is dying. Like, obviously we had like a death in the previous book, we had a death in the first book, we found out about Noah being dead in the first book, and you know there has been death leading up to this moment, but I don't know why, but it just feels more serious now. Like we are actually getting towards the end game, and it feels like maybe anyone could die. I'm still like so intrigued to see if we actually do get to save Gandhi. Like, will we actually do that? And I really enjoy Gandhi in this book. I think maybe I might be preferring him over Blue at the minute. He isn't the person I've changed in the character ranking, by the way. Maybe it was Adam. Maybe. But like with Gandhi, oh my gosh, when we first like have like a proper scene with him and they're going through the caves and he falls through the hole, I laughed to begin with because it was just like, oop, poof, he's gone. But like when he starts having a panic attack and when he's talking to Blue about having this panic attack, my heart went out for him. I felt so bad for him. I was like, oh my god, like he's actually like scared right now. Like he's imagining these hornets and like he's terrified, and he's like, Blue, keep talking because your voice is drowning out the rustling beneath me and stuff. Like I was genuinely scared, and I was so emotionally involved with like Gandhi at that moment, because I feel like most of us have experienced a panic attack. I know I have, and how scary a situation that can be. And we do start like imagining things, and we probably like think the worst is going to happen right there and then. So it was actually like a really touching moment to see like Blue like comforting Gandhi like as he's like hanging down this hole. Oh my gosh, I was really, really scared during that. And you parallel that with Blue, who at the minute is feeling a little bit lost about her mother. Like she is devastated that her mother isn't going to be there for like her return to school, and you know she keeps thinking that she's going to be in the house at 300 Fox Way, and she's not. There's so much personal stakes involved in this story now that I kind of felt like maybe a little bit hopeless myself. There was a great sense of hopelessness in a lot of this book, and I think that is probably like a really great theme that this book has kind of explored. Not just like the hopelessness, but the people around you kind of lifting you out of that hopelessness, especially when you like connect the dots in the terms of like, oh, Blue kind of saved Gandhi from his panic attack, and then like later on when Blue is like going to jump in the lake and then Ronan stops her, it's like other characters are stopping each other from going a little bit too far, or like from like jumping off the ledge, or like feeling too lost. You know, there's always a character to kind of bring them back and remind them, oh, I'm here, I'm still here for you, and just like remember that. And it kind of saves them in that moment. And that's kind of something that I've found like really amazing with this book series, is the dynamic between them all. And there was a quote in here where it was like they all love one another kind of thing. I feel like we got the sense in the second book, definitely, but I think it's hammered home in this one. You can be just friends with people you know, Ola said. I think it's crazy how you're in love with all those Raven boys. Ola wasn't wrong, of course, but what she didn't realise about Blue and her boys was that they were all in love with one another. Like, that's so beautiful. Love saves all, right? Love saves all, and that's kind of the main thing that was like really brought to fruition in this book. The fact that their love for one another does save them from a particular moment. So yeah, I felt like there was so much more like humanity to Gansey in this one too, and like vulnerability is the word I'm looking for. And yeah, Blue and Jesse, like she meets a guy called Jesse because she wants to explore his cave. That's not a euphemism, I just heard that. Like he has a cave that is like kind of protected, and she needs to like explore it. Like there's some things in there that she wants to find, and Jesse Diddley is like, absolutely not, you're not gonna do that. But I kind of love the fact that all of his dialogue is like shouty, all of his dialogue is in caps lock, and then you compare that to Blue, who feels like so like chill compared to that. And I just love the banter between them, because Jesse sees Noah, your dead friend, Jesse noted, sitting down opposite her at the tiny drop leaf table, the mirror lay between them face down. That's not his fault. Why didn't you say you could see him? I didn't say I could see you either, but I'm not dead, Blue pointed out, but you are pretty short. I don't know why, but that just made me laugh in the moment. Poor Noah. Let's circle back to Noah. Noah was barely in this book, and I felt like, I don't know, like he was forgotten about a little bit, but what we did get with Noah, it was like very brief, but it had quite an emotional punch. So when Blue is talking to a counsellor about her future, and about like schools, and like applying for places, and like what she needs to get there and stuff, and Noah just kind of like disappears. There was a toss explosion of tissues and business envelopes and business cards, a frenetic tornado losing propulsion. What just happened? Truthfully, she replied, I have no idea. And then she discovers Noah later crying, and he sees like you just want to decay. And I don't know, like that felt to me like him seeing other people kind of have a future, in them being able to live their lives in the future, really upset Noah, and it's like becoming even more real for him that people are going to move on, and they're going to grow up, and they're going to live, and he's going to be stagnant. He's going to be either the exact same, or he's going to decay. When you're in his position, like what is next for you? Is it moving on? Is it like actually dying and leaving this place? That is so emotionally traumatizing for Noah. Like I can't even begin to imagine like hearing other people about to go off and like explore and live their lives, and then Noah's just like, well, you can't really do that. And to see that in that scene with the counsellor, and he's there, and then he just like explodes and like leaves, that is so touching. That is very touching. Okay, but speaking of touching, Adam. Adam is a great character to feel sorry for. Like, I am sorry to be like such an Adam hater, but like to begin in this book with, especially like the first half of it, I was continuing the hater life when it comes to Adam. But I will say, so it's not like all negative, I do think there is a semblance of him becoming a bit more likable for me in the future. And I think a lot of it is to do with Maggie. Like, I'm not loving the way that Maggie is writing Adam. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I'm getting really fed up with his constant characterization being someone that we should pity. Because I get it. I got it from the first two books. We do not need more of Adam being pathetic. Literally, start of chapter 2, which is when we first get Adam. Well, we saw Adam before that, of course. Like with the caves and stuff, but like this is the first time we get Adam alone with a narrative. Adam Parrish was lonesome. That was like the very, very first sentence to like introduce Adam in book 3, essentially. Or at least introduce his POV. Adam Parrish was lonesome. He really isn't beating those pitiful allegations. Like, I get it. He's been through some things, and one thing that this book has done for me, which, like, again, is one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of him, is that whenever somebody mentions any kind of problem, Adam has to kind of one-up them. So there's a moment with Gansey later on when Gansey's like, oh, things have turned ugly, haven't they? And then the narrator is like, things have been ugly for Adam ever since he was born. It's like nobody else can have a problem when Adam's involved, because Adam is the one that you should feel the most sorry for. That's what the narrator is trying to do to me. On paper, yes, everything that's happened to Adam, the stuff with his dad, oh my gosh, like the court case and stuff, like yes, oh my gosh, that's traumatizing, awful, but the narrator is making him look so utterly pathetic to me. And also the most unlikable, literally this is chapter 2, right after the moment in the cave when Gansey has his panic attack. He had not known that Richard Gansey III had it in him to be a coward. Like, Adam is the only one who sees the worst in his friends. Let's be honest. I mean, imagine calling your friend a coward because he has a panic attack. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I know I'm not. But Adam is literally the only one who does see the worst in his friends. It's just the way it is. Like, I know a lot of that is internalized stuff that he's dealing with. Again, like, he's projecting so much of his own struggles onto his friends, which is unfair. Like, no matter how you look at it, it is unfair. It is making him the least likable out of all of them, considering the others are like trying so hard to like be his friend and just treat him as a human. And it's hard when Adam has all of these preconceived notions about his friends who he's supposed to know and love and, you know, have all of these feelings for, and yet he is still the one who's like, oh, you know, Gansey had a panic attack, he's a coward. You know what I mean? It's like, And I may as well say now, I have bumped Adam up a little bit in the character ranking. He does go above Noah because Noah barely did anything in this book, whereas Adam did get more interesting. Adam does have some interesting things happen to him. Like when the scaffolding falls and there's like this perfect kind of circle around Adam and he's protecting himself. That was very good. I love that scene. And also I really love the scene as well when Adam is told about, like, you know, the list of names of the people who are going to be on the spirit or the corpse road or whatever. And he asks Blue, oh, can I see the list? And Blue's like, no. And Adam is like, one of us is on it, aren't we? And then Blue is like, I'm not saying. And Adam can work out who it is. And I love that scene as well. I thought, Adam, you are a smart cookie. I really do enjoy you in this moment. I do think Adam can be great when we are focusing on the plot and like his character isn't just tied to him just looking for loose change under a chair. I feel like Maggie has been way too obvious with Adam's like, you know, poor status and like him working harder than the others to get to a certain point. And I get it, I do. There is still a lot of sympathy there for him, but I've just been beaten over the head with it for the past 3 books now. I'm ready to move on from that characterization. It's just so painfully obvious what Maggie is trying to do with Adam's character. And I'm sorry, but I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for it. Like, if you want me to like Adam while also not making him insufferable because of the amount of times he reminds us how much worse he gets than everyone else, while also criticizing his friends the most out of anyone, then you're gonna have to do better than that, Maggie, I'm afraid. But I do feel like Maggie is now turning the corner with characterizing Adam and Adam's character in general. Because when Gansey and Ronan are like, we would like to be character witnesses for Adam, the narrator / Adam is like, was it okay? Adam had turned down so many offers of help from Gansey. Money for school, money for food, money for rent, pity and charity, Adam had thought. For so long he'd wanted Gansey to see him as an equal, but it was possible that all this time, the only person who needed to see that was Adam. Yes! Yes, 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 yes! It was Adam the entire time. The amount of times Gansey has tried to help and has treated Adam like an equal because he loves Adam and he sees him as his own brother, you know what I mean? Like, he has this equal standing. Adam is the only one who's constantly being, like, pushing that away, and I know it's because he has so much internalized hatred for his situation, but he's finally getting it. Now we could say that it wasn't charity Gansey was offering, it was just truth. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Has Adam finally seen the light? Adam held out his right hand and Gansey clasped it in a handshake like they were men because they were men. That is because now Adam has finally woken up that he can actually be like, oh, I'm a man now. That's because he's finally woken up to it. He's no longer seeing the worst in his friends, thinking that they're just doing things out of pity and charity. He's actually like, oh, maybe I'm the problem. Yes, you were, Adam. Yes, you were. So I'm very excited to see like how he progresses to see if, well, I'm interested to see if he's the one who kills Gansey. Like, could you imagine, like, there was a moment when Adam's like, am I the one who kills Gansey? Because he has seen Gansey's, like, bloodied body and stuff, so he's like, am I the one? Am I the one who's going to do that? So that'll be very interesting. I do find Adam interesting when it's to do with the plot. There's actually not that much to talk about with Ronan, because I don't think Ronan actually had a whole great deal either in this one. We do find out that Greenmantle, who is, like, a character who's kind of been, well, shown in this one. We have heard from him before. He's the one who asked the Grey Man to kill Ronan's father. So it was very interesting to have him come into this with his wife Piper. Piper was pretty funny. Hate her for killing Jesse, shooting him 3 times. How dare you? But she was funny. Like, when Greenmantle is like, oh, we're not going to die, and Piper's like, we better not because I have book club on Tuesday. Like, she was funny. She was funny. But I'm really scared about the very ending when Neve is back and she helps Piper in, like, the caves and stuff, and they come across somebody who was sleeping, and then I think it's the Raven King. Is it the Raven King? I don't know. It's very vague. Or maybe I just didn't read it properly. Maybe it is specifically said it is him. Because Neve does say, oh, we have to wake him together to get a favour. But before, you know, Neve can do anything, Piper runs up to it and says, wake up. So Piper said it first. So whoever's waking up, who is going to give the favour, is probably going to give it to Piper. Unless it is the Raven King, and I do think the Raven King is probably going to be evil, or like some kind of destruction is going to happen in waking up the Raven King. That I don't know. I don't know if maybe whoever's going to wake up, or maybe it's just the person who isn't supposed to wake up. I don't know. Like, there's so many things about like people needing to wake up. There's like 3 people, like 3 sleepers, 1 light, 1 dark, 1 in between, and there's 1 that shouldn't be woken up. I don't know, there was a little bit of like complex webbing with some of the plot elements of this that I don't think I fully took in and understood. But I'm sure I'll be fine going into the final book and like understand everything maybe. I still love the angst between Blue and Gansey when they can't even kiss, but they're like doing like nearly everything else but. Like, it's so angsty, like it's so like raw and like emotional. And when Gansey's like, oh, maybe it won't kill me if I'm the one to kiss you, like you see Blue like pushing him away. Like, Blue is very protective and she's using it as like a defense mechanism when she like goes off at Gansey when he's getting a little bit too close, because it's so dangerous. Like, I've never read a book series where a love between 2 people has been so incredibly dangerous, where one of them could literally die right there and then if they get too close and they kiss, and yet that's what they want to do. Like, they want to kiss so badly, and you can feel that the tension in it is so rife. There's also, I feel like there's some tension between Ronan and Adam. Like, I don't know what's happening there, but there was a scene when Adam sees like a dead Ronan, when Ronan is like dreaming and he's like getting like the fake evidence against Greenmantle, and there's like a moment when we see like a dead Ronan and Adam is like, oh my god, like it kind of becomes a little bit real for him, and there's like some tension after that too in that scene. It's very hard to explain because I don't think it's like explicit, the tension between, well, you feel it, but I don't know if maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Adam could say, however, that Ronan Lynch was angry because he wanted to be angry. Way to be an asshole. This wasn't my fault, Adam says. I didn't say it was your fault, Ronan said. I said, get the hell away from me. The 2 boys stared at each other. Insanely, it felt like every other argument they'd ever had, even though this time there was a Ronan-shaped body curled between them, covered in gore. This was just Ronan wanting to shout where someone could hear him. Adam felt it whittling away at his temper, not because he believed Ronan was angry at him, but because he was tired of Ronan thinking this was the only way to show he was upset. And Ronan is like very like, pushes him away kind of thing. I don't know why, but I just felt a little bit of tension there. I don't know. Okay, something I didn't really like in this book was Dr. Roger Mallory, actually. I've been excited to like meet him in person. Like, we've heard him over the phone in the past, but to like actually see him come to the town and actually interact with the characters, I was very excited. And I was like, oh yeah, we finally meet him. Oh my god, it was just like this walking, unfunny British stereotype. I really ended up hating him. Nearly every scene we get with him, he's like, oh, this tea, oh my gosh, like this tea is the worst, pish posh. Tallywhacker, chip chip pip pip cheerio. He was so stereotypically and offensively British. I hated it. It was so unfunny. It was so obvious. He was just like this walking British stereotype. I was like, come on. Like, the series has been so well written up to this point, and yet maybe it's just me being sensitive, I don't know. Gansey, I perish for a cup of tea. Can such a thing be had in this place? I cannot possibly hope to survive this jet lag without a cup of tea. Oh god, like, it's just the worst. Like, at this point when, you know, authors write these really terribly tea-loving British people in their stories, it automatically turns me off. Especially since I don't think he really added anything to the story. Like, he could have been taken out of this book and we wouldn't have lost anything. So what was his actual purpose? I don't know. There was actually this mural thing with like the 3 women who all had Blue's face. That was very interesting. But other than that, all he did was complain about how bad the tea was. And the last thing I kind of want to mention is I do think the love between the Grey Man and Mora is happening a little bit too fast. Like, when Blue asks him, like, do you love her? And he pauses and then he says, yes, I do. I was like, okay, so this is a month after the events of the Dream Thieves, right? And so, like, he hasn't seen her in a month, and I'm sure they only knew or, like, interacted with each other for, like, a week in the Dream Thieves. Like, I can't remember the time frame of the Dream Thieves, but the amount of time they've spent together, and he's saying that he loves Mora, I don't know, like, that just feels way too fast for me. And I know that just, like, kind of secondary characters, like, the main development is happening between the main people, even though I do, like, love some of the side characters, like Kala and Persephone and stuff, but, like, the main development is happening between the main cast, and the side characters feel a little bit rushed to me now. Like, Mora and the Grey Man, I'm sorry, I don't feel that love. Like, that was just, it felt a little bit too forced and a little bit too quick. I don't know, maybe I've missed something there, but yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that either. And some of like the fights at the end were a little bit rushed as well. But I did like the fact that Blue got to meet Artemis, her father, but like that was a little bit of an underwhelming moment as well. I don't know how to feel about that. Like Blue did have to leave, but the actual meeting itself was a little bit underwhelming, like a little bit quick, and not much fanfare was happening there, so I was kind of left feeling a little bit deflated by it. I was like, oh, okay, like that's it. I mean, I'm sure we'll see him in the fourth book. I'm sure we'll get like so much more in the fourth book with that. But I don't know, it felt, I don't know, it wasn't my favourite book. It wasn't my favourite. I'm so sorry. And 3.5 is still great. Like, that's a great rating. All of these books have been so good. This series has grabbed me by the Raven Boys, and it won't let go. I'm very excited about book 4 now. Oh, now why do I feel like I've been blue ball lily ball blued after reading this book? I just feel like we had so much build up over the course of, well, 3 books by this point, that by the 4th book I was ready. I was ready for things to be wrapped up, but also to like be built to, and it just felt like there was a whole lot of rushing in this, and a whole lot of nothing as well. Like, I really don't feel like I have the ability to talk too much about this book. There are some things I love, don't get me wrong, especially with the characters, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the plot and like what I was actually excited to get to after, you know, building up the whole, Blue will kill Gansey if she kisses him, it's like her curse, and like finding the Raven King, 2 of those big things just felt so anticlimactic in this. By the time we get to this book, my anticipation is rife, it's high, and I'm excited, but I'm so underwhelmed. I'm so underwhelmed. Like, it's on page 265 when Gansey is like, oh, maybe it's time to find Glentower. I was like, you think? You think? Literally, I've been waiting for this moment to happen for ages, and am I getting ahead of myself? Look, I'm just talking general at the minute. I'm talking general thoughts, general vibes. There wasn't like a great deal of visuals. Like, a lot of it had to do with dreaming, but a lot of vagueness in memories. And nothing was really like progressing the plot in the way that I needed it to. With this being the final book, I was like, let's speed this along, get through all of this vagueness, because we've already done this for 3 books anyway, so like, come on, let's get to the point, let's get to the story. And even by this point as well, I was getting a little bit fed up with the writing style too. Like, I'm not a full-on hater, I promise. Like, again, I love this series, but like, I was just getting a little bit fed up with the writing style. There was like one moment when Maggie was writing, this was not darkness, it was an absence of light. And I was like, isn't that what darkness is? Don't get me wrong, Maggie's a great writer, and I have loved every other book in terms of like the descriptions and the details and stuff. But by this point, because it was a whole lot of waffle, I was like, this is taken away from the plot. This is taken away from the story. We're just being vague. And I don't know, like, it felt like that so much of it was just like a word salad, that by the time we got to actually things happening, they would end up being over so quickly. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's all. I also didn't really realise this until this book, but we have had pretty much different villains for each book, and I was expecting potentially the Raven King would be the villain of this book, but instead it turns out to be like the demon that Piper can kind of control. Like, especially like the end of book 3, we had that cliffhanger with Piper, and this demon thing is kind of now the antagonist, but really all of that doesn't really start happening until like the last 100 pages, and then it comes out of nowhere. It just didn't feel like it was naturally built up to in the way that we have been getting things foreshadowed in previous books. We had that cliffhanger in Blue Lily Blue, and it just happens in this one. I didn't feel an attachment at all to the villainous side of the villains of this one. Like, even Piper was getting on my nerves. Like, Piper is more comedic than actually an intimidating villain, but considering, you know, we have like such high stakes, theoretically high stakes in this, just for things to kind of just be a little bit too humorous for me to like really keep me in that kind of mind frame of like enjoying something a little bit darker, a little bit more action packed, and then just like, it was very little action. The tone of it just felt a little bit all over the place. The pacing of it felt all over the place. I just wasn't the biggest fan of this one. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to give this one 2.5 stars. Like, I gave the first 2 4 stars, the third one 3.5, and like, I really did love the first 3 so much, but this one, I'm just disappointed. Maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe I was expecting too much. So maybe upon a reread, with my expectations in check, maybe I will enjoy it more. This is just like initial gut feeling. This is disappointment. This is the face of disappointment. In the prologue, we had, you know, Gansey and his family being talked about as courtiers and kings. And then the narrator says about Gansey, he was a king. And I was like, imagine if Gansey turned out to be the Raven King. Especially in the first book, Mora says something like, oh, he is more Raven than others. And so, like, I thought, oh, maybe the Raven King turns out to be Gansey. Not that I would know how that would work, but that was kind of where my mind went. And then other people were called kings in this. Even Adam was called a king at one point. And so the word king was just being thrown around. And I thought, oh, maybe the Raven King is the friends we made along the way. Because everyone was being called a king. Even I was being called a king at one point. But I loved how this was the driving force of the characters for so long. Like for Gansey, in the first book, he had mentioned, oh, I've been like looking for the ley lines for like 4 years. And like, this is my mission. We need to find it. And stuff like that. So by this point, I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to see the Raven King. We're going to find him. This is what Gansey has been building up to, like his character. So I don't really fully understand everything that happens because there's like a lot of vagueness to so much. But like, so the Raven King isn't even sleeping, right? Like when they find his bones, it's just bones. And even when Henry says, oh, wake up the bones, they can't do that. Like the Raven King is actually dead. The Raven King is gone. And what I don't like about this book as well is that even though in the past, and I know I've complained about this in this book as well, sometimes we do get descriptions like, oh, the darkness was an absence of light, which is what fucking darkness is anyway. But like, there wasn't any great detail or nuance with this either. So as soon as they find Glendower, so Glendower was dead, and then at the end of the next chapter, it was over. And then they move on. They just move on from that. And I'm like, I didn't feel the disappointment exactly through the characters. I didn't feel how this was a 4-5 year journey trying to find the Raven King. For this to just be over like that, and like there isn't any emotion really being portrayed there. Because that was happening in the last like 70 pages of this book. This much of this book is them finding the Raven King, he's dead, the attack from the demon, Gansey dying, like all of that stuff we've been building up to, like for 4 books now, 3-4 books now, and this is where it all happens in. That. And some of that is back matter as well. Like, so this is acknowledgements. So like this. It just felt so rushed by the end. So I was disappointed about the Raven King reveal. And then I'm kind of disappointed by the final fight thing as well, because Adam suddenly gets taken over by the demon. And so he's the one who's like, well, he's killing Ronan essentially, which is heartbreaking considering what Adam and Ronan gone through in this book. I will talk about the things I love in a minute, I promise. All that was happening in the car, and then, you know, like all Adam has to do is choose Capeswater over the demon. And Persephone, oh, I did love the scene actually when he was talking with Persephone. All Persephone had to do was like, you chose Capeswater, not the demon. So Adam's like, you know what, you're right. I'm going to choose Capeswater. So this is how I'm going to defeat the demon. And he's possessing me right now, but I'm going to defeat it. That was over so quickly too. And then they hatch up the plan with Gansey willingly dying, because that's what we've been building up to this entire time as well. Blue kissing him and him dying. I'm ready, Blue, kiss me. Blue kissed him. And then there's just like a whole lot of waffle. Depending on where you begin the story, it was about Nowhere Journey. I was honestly so fed up with that as well, I'm not gonna lie. Like, lots of chapters start with, depending on where you start the story, it was actually about this person. And I was like, look, I started the story 3 books ago. Let's just end the story. Anyway, this is ruining the moment. You know, because we start talking about Noah for a chapter, and then at the end of it, Gansey died. Goodbye, Noah said. Don't throw it away. He quietly slipped from time. I mean, that's sad about Noah, don't get me wrong, very sad. But like, there was just no focus on the fact that Blue had just kissed Gansey and he died. Like, I would have loved to have felt that. You know, I would have loved to have got descriptions of how that felt for Gansey and even Blue. I know they had the plan where, oh, we'll bring him back, because like if he dies at 6:21 precisely. I don't understand how this works. They can bring him back. They can ask Capeswater to bring him back. And why Capeswater would do that, I have no idea. There's just like a lot of assuming things would happen, and then they do happen. I don't know, like, I can't picture it visually because it's kind of a bland visual. They're on the side of the road. Gansey dies on page 418. 8 pages later, Blue touches Gansey's face. She whispered, wake up. And then it goes into the epilogue. That's it? That is seriously it. All she had to do was say wake up, and they've asked Capeswater to bring him back. Just like how by the time they find the Raven King, all Gansey really had to do was like ask as well. I can't visualize that. It's like such a bland visual. It felt like the things that we've been waiting 4 books for didn't feel exactly earned because it felt rushed and I wanted it to feel earned. So those were like my main gripes with this book. I just felt like I was reading something else. I was like, I'm not reading the 4th and final book in the Raven Cycle series right now. What am I reading? For the longest time, I was like, I have nothing to say about this book because nothing is happening. And then everything happened at the end. Well, everything plot related didn't happen until the end. Character related, oh my god. Oh my god, like, Ronan and Adam, are you kidding me? That was so cute. Well, actually, before they even kiss, there's the same kind of tension that was between Gansey and Blue in previous books where all they could do really is like be near one another and sort of touch, but like nothing explicit. Adam's hands are just close to Ronan and it says, in dreams, Ronan put them to his mouth. His feelings for Adam were an oil spill. And I was like, this is so intense, but like nothing is really like happening there, but it feels like there is. I wish we had this level of feeling and description when it comes to the things we've been waiting for this entire time in terms of the plot, because when it comes to the characters, it's pretty perfect. It's pretty perfect, especially character relationships and character dynamics. Oh, and again, like a little bit later on, when they're together, Ronan had offered his hand to help Adam up from the asphalt. Stripped of context, the physical sensations exploded. The surprise and shock of heat from that skin-to-skin grip. It's just so tense. And so by the time we do get to their kiss, oh my god, it was an explosion. It was literally an explosion. I felt myself explode. Ronan let out a breath, put the model down on the bed beside him and kissed Adam. Adam was too full of white fuzzy light to make any sort of logical connections. He was pretty sure he'd been Ronan's first kiss. Like, this whole entire section was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I was like, you know what, I'm kind of tolerating Adam right now, I guess. Although I will say, like, you don't need to make a character LGBTQ plus for me to care about them. And like, I do care about Adam, but he's still my least, well, not my least favourite. Noah's my least favourite, just because like he hasn't really got a chance to do very much. And I do feel like Noah overstayed his welcome a little bit with this book. He has been dead since the first book, and so we've had that idea of like flirting with Noah needs to move on kind of thing, and even that is brought up a couple of times in this when Blue is like, oh, I don't think he's ready, or like he doesn't want to, and then I think it's Maura who says, no, not maybe not Maura, someone else is like, there's a difference between want and need, so Noah needs to move on. His soul is decaying. It's kind of horrifying, the visuals of him, and it's scary when you see Noah, but like by this point I was like, okay, I am ready for him to move on, because it just felt like his storyline was stretched so much, and so I felt a lot of sympathy there for Noah. But with Noah, like, he is still my least favorite now, because I've been feeling sorry for Noah since book 1 as well, and it's the same with Adam. I felt sorry for Adam since around about book 1 too, and for me, I need a bit more for me to like the characters. And obviously, like, the relationship between Adam and Ronan now definitely makes Adam a more complex character, so I do like that. But like, there were still things about Adam I didn't like in this book, and I will say, like, one of them was like really creepy. Like, there was a really creepy part, in my personal opinion, when it says Adam rejoined Blue on the other side of the vehicle. He took pains to stare at neither her breasts nor her lips, and I just find that creepy and odd. Like, they're supposed to all like love one another in like such a friendly way, I guess, like they love each other as friends, and like, why is it paining Adam not being able to look at her breasts and her lips? You know what I mean? And I also don't like it when he argues with Blue about Gansey and keeping things secret from him, because even Blue is like, it wasn't as calculated as you're making it out to be. And then she's like, it's funny how this seems to be more about you than it is about him. And Adam's like, yeah, that is funny. I was about to say the same thing. I was like, again, like, Adam does play the victim well. And I do understand, especially with his parents. And like, when his dad said to his mum, I regret the moment I squirted him in you. Ugh, you nasty. That was just disgusting. I do feel so bad for Adam and his family life. I just haven't loved the way Adam treats his supposed friends and the people he supposedly loves. Of course, you can explain it like, oh, he's experienced trauma and he's like pushing people away and stuff like that. I understand that. I don't like it. You know, like, I understand it, I acknowledge it, I don't like it. But yeah, his scenes with Ronan just made me die of cuteness. It did. I ship it now. Oh, and when Ronan actually does put Adam's fingers to his mouth, I was like, good grief, we really do need to look away. We need to look away at that point. And it's so beautiful as well, actually, because I remember in the first book, Gansey said something like, I worry about the person who falls on Ronan because they will cut themselves kind of thing. And I'm like, who better to tolerate Ronan than Adam? I really do feel like at the end of the day they are a good match, even though it wasn't as evidently clear from the beginning that they would be. So I love their development together. It's so cute and so great. I wasn't really feeling Blue and Gansey as much in this book, honestly. Like, I didn't really get a whole great sense of their epic romance or anything. Because again, like, the whole thing building up to their kiss and her killing him with it was just so underwhelming. There was a moment, I think it was at the toga party, which I enjoyed, where Blue was like talking to him about his hair, and he's like, oh, my legs are hairier and stuff like that. Why is that the only thing that really sticks out to me when it comes to the romance between Blue and Gansey in this one? I have no idea, but I felt like that was maybe a little underdeveloped in this book. I feel like this book was definitely more Ronan and Adam, which I'm not complaining, because you know me, Ronan's my favourite character, and I'm all for a LGBTQ plus relationship. Well, there were so many things about Ronan as well I didn't care about. I didn't care about Orphan Girl by the end of it. I was like, why? Like, what was even the point in all that? I know Aurora died as well, like his mum died. I didn't really feel that either. Like, I feel like so many things like were blasted through that I didn't have enough time to kind of be like, oh, that happened. This is why I feel like I might need a reread, just to understand everything. I liked Henry. I liked it when Henry put the robotic insect bee thing on Gansey's hand, and he's like, we need to trust each other in our young friendship and stuff like that. Like, that was really cool. I did like him. What was all the stuff with Artemis just like hiding himself in the closet as well? Like, I really didn't feel like he added too much to the story himself either. At the end of the day, he locked himself in the closet at the very beginning, which was very Maggie-ass, circa 2010 coded. And then he just tells Blue that the only way to get rid of the demon is for someone to willingly die on the ley line. Again, like, I just don't know what we build up with his character either, just to tell them information that they would have known anyway, just like based off instinct and the prophecies that we've already been getting since the very beginning. And I don't know, I just felt like some of it was just a bit of a waste. Okay, I'm sorry, I hate talking negatively about the final book because I've been really enjoying this series. I would still say this was a great series, and I will put the series in my best books of 2024, 100%, like the series as a whole, but this one is definitely dragging it down for me. I just didn't love it. Nothing else for me to say about The Raven King, honestly. It was disappointing. 2.5 stars. So that is the Raven Cycle series, read for the very first time. So glad I finally read it after being on my TBR for such a long time. Thank you so much, Kayla, for doing the members read along and finally kicking me up the butt to actually start this series. First two books, definitely my favourite, and then Blue Lily Blue was still good. Disappointing ending. But as a whole, I really love the series. In the characters, I freaking loved. I love the characters so much. I will always love them. And that means because I am keeping this series, I am going to be stamping it so it will have the official From the Library of Gavin Hetherington stamp, which I only got this like last week, I think. And I love it. Every time I read a book and I love it, I stamp it so it's in my collection forever and ever. So the Raven Boys. Stamped. The Dream Thieves. Stamped. Blue Lily Lily Blue. Stamped. And the Raven King. Stamped. Now read and forever in my collection. So that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the Raven Cycle series. Let me know what you thought of the video. Did you agree with my opinions? Disagree with my opinions? Are you an Adam sympathizer? Do you like Ronan? Like, what do we agree on? What do we disagree on? Let me know everything in the comments. I want to give a huge thank you to Kayla for doing this read along, and my patrons for support my channel. So if you'd like to join my Patreon, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.